All right, Nick, here we are. We're live on the podcast.
Brad, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Really good to see you. Everyone that's listening or watching, this is Nick from Splice Video. He's based out of Scottsdale, Arizona. Me and Nick met, I guess over LinkedIn initially, but we met face to face at the HealthSpan Summit in LA. And dude, your presentation on stage was just so awesome. We've since become friends, and I just knew that you would be one of the best people possible to get on this podcast that really addresses how marketing and video, which you specialize in, is really going to help and impact the businesses of anyone that's in this longevity, anti-aging industry. So with that said, welcome. Awesome to have you here. Anything else that you'd like to add to your intro, or, just a little bit about yourself and why you're well qualified, I should say, to be talking to anyone about how awesome video creation and marketing is in general for businesses?
Well, I'll say that you're the marketing expert. I definitely know video. My career's kind of been this long, strange trip that I started in luxury goods in this really weird sales marketing content role. And that kind of eventually led me down the path into a lot of technology, a lot of software. And then in the last year, I got into the longevity space, kind of out of this personal quest, if you will, that kind of I fell so in love with it that I'm like, look, I think I need to bring my skills to this space. And I think if there's one reason, if you're going to ask me why people should maybe pay attention to this, I would say that I went to 6 events in the last year, the best of the best. And what I realized was this whole space is still in the prosumer space. This is in the top 3% of people. I think people think it's in the early adopters. I don't even think it's there yet. I think people like Brian Johnson are starting to pierce that,
Definitely.
but it is just the beginning. This is like the internet in like 1998. It is the beginning stages of what the business is going to be. That's where the opportunity is. I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be in educating people and getting them excited about what's possible. And I think if you think you're busy now, if you're in this wellness, longevity, anti-aging space now, it's 1998.
That's such a great way to look at it. Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges, like from my marketing aspects is really people are looking for the longevity services that are out there. They just don't know how to quite phrase it on Google. So you get a lot of weird searches about like, the best doctor or complex blood test, or how I fell into longevity myself was I knew the president of the United States always get these really thorough exams before they take office. And it was called the presidential. So on my vision board, I had the presidential, like panel from, to find a doctor. And it wasn't until, I don't know, I met someone on a bike ride here in Austin that was actually going to a longevity doctor. And he's the one that turned me onto it. And I was like, oh, this is exactly what I've been looking for. So I'm sure there's, like you said, it's the prosumer version of it now. It's just starting to break into that early adopter phase. I think you're absolutely correct with the Brian Johnson analogy there. And people just don't know what they don't know. They don't even know what they're looking for. They know they want to be in good health. They want to be healthy for their kids and live a long, healthy health span, which is something that I think Peter Attia kind of coined, the health span versus lifespan there. And I think it's just a real popular subject that people are looking for. And what's really exciting, I just joined a new longevity company called Merrick Health, shout it to them, but they are bringing it like ways to well. Some of these longevity companies are bringing the cost down so nice that you can get these longevity services now without having to spend like, some of my early longevity services were $1,000 plus a month, which was just, obviously breaking the bank pretty soon. So it's really nice to have that. So yeah, I think you're absolutely correct there. So
And I just want to quickly dig in to give you credit here when it comes to like SEO and marketing, because I think you hit a point. People are like not really sure what to put in terms of like what is going to draw people. And I think the mistake that business owners make, especially in a prosumer space, is they get very technical and very scientific, and how they're Googling for something is very different than who your ideal customer is Googling for. And that's why someone like you who can come in and understands what people are actually searching for is so critical. And it's such an amazing time to plant your flag because, again, it's so early in that space. Now's the time to plant your flag and, take over your whole city with whatever it is you're trying to promote.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a great space, and I'm so passionate about the industry, and that's what led me to this niche in general. And same with you. We've talked about this multiple times, but yeah, it's just an exciting industry to be in for sure. So when I say, like a lot of my questions today are going to be based around marketing, and so just when you hear that term marketing, you're looking at it through a video lens or seeing things on screen. So if I do say marketing, just kind of replace, for the audience as well as you, Nick, just replace that kind of with like video marketing, how video can really transform how a business looks and presents itself online, which I know is super important. And I know you'll be able to illustrate this beautifully. So getting into that, why is video marketing so important for longevity clinics and longevity and anti-aging businesses?
So I think there's two key reasons. One is the opportunity in this space is to be the educator, not the scientist, but the educator. And then that's for longevity. General in business, the opportunity to use video is the opportunity to get people to fall in love with you, right? Once people understand who you are, once you position yourself as the thought leader, once you position yourself as the go-to in the space, they don't feel right if they don't go to you, right? It's very humanizing. And I learned that kind of when COVID happened and I started making a lot of content on LinkedIn. And then people would kind of come into my world into like a Zoom meeting and they'd be like, oh my God, it's you. It's really you. It's you. It's you. And I'm actually having a conversation with Nick. And it wasn't doing anything different. I was still just Nick. But the way that they viewed me was now as a thought leader in the video and brand storytelling space. So we can double click on being an educator in functional health and medicine and clinics, because I think that's such a key opportunity. But the second, again, it humanizes you. And once people, once you've convinced them after they've seen you 7, 8, 9 times to actually try a therapy or try a test or come by your clinic, it's like 90% they're going to pick you if you're the one they've been following online. Unless you have
Yeah.
terrible reviews, they'll still see you as the thought leader and be like, oh, they just don't care about the reviews. But oh my God, I'm watching Brent. Brent's the expert in the space.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like sometimes restaurants, I'll see like one of my favorite restaurants online is like, what? The reviews are so bad, but it's like, oh, the service was bad, but the food is good, So, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of improvement, with all businesses in general, obviously, but also doctors' offices and longevity clinics in general. Like, a lot of times it's something that can be a little intimidating for people. So, poor reviews can follow that experience, and like you said, getting to know someone so you're almost familiar with them before you even meet them in person is such a key part of that. So I want to touch on something real quick before we get on. So you said the scientist versus the educator. So how do you differentiate those two things in your mind? Because I think I have an idea of what you're talking about, but I'd like to clarify on that.
So I love that. That's a great question. And I think how I first viewed it was when I first went to my first conference in longevity. I got up, I was one of the last speakers, and I was talking about the business of business. And, I said to the whole audience, I said, I'm very confused. I don't understand what anyone in this room does. And I'm your ICP, I'm your target, I'm your ideal client. The age I'm at, the revenue that I make, I am your buyer, and I don't understand anything in this room. And it's because you're so used to talking science with science people, and you can geek out on that. But again, that's not going to translate. That's going to confuse me. You need to make this so easy for me. You need to connect the dots for me. And what I mean by being an educator is, what is the pain point that they have? Hey, is your cholesterol too high? Hey, are you dealing with inflammation? Are you a triathlete are you kind of in the middle of the pack being a triathlete and you're looking to level up? That's a pain point. Why am I maybe not leveling up as a triathlete? What are the options and opportunities that I'm maybe not aware of, right? What are peptides? I went to Dr. Seeds. Dr. Seeds, the godfather of peptides in America,
Yeah.
without question. And I learned so much. But 2 years ago, I had never heard the term peptide, right? And now suddenly I'm listening to these experts. So how do you translate what a peptide is? So what is a peptide? What does it do? And why is it interesting, right? And why is pharma maybe trying to ban it so that, you have to buy it through pharma? wait, what is this great thing that is so great that now people are trying to gate it? But that's educating, right? What is peptides? How do you use peptides? What are some implications, positive or negative, of peptides? What kind of doctor do you talk to about peptides? Maybe you're dealing with this. Here's a potential peptide that might work for you. So that's educating versus, well, the science is it's this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens. Versus
Yeah, you
this,
take 2 units and this is your blood levels, and yeah, totally.
what's the story? What's the story?
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? It's the stories that really differentiate to make it humanizing, right? And imagine that's also the key of video, that it's so much easier to tell your story versus writing it or say just with a voice. I mean, obviously those are great channels for that too, but really the power of video is that that's the story. Like there, you're seeing the expressions and the gestures and all these things that make a story so important and personalizing.
100%. 100%.
Nice. So what are some easy steps to start getting into this video, these strategies? Maybe it's a tool, maybe it's, if someone doesn't have a video presence or not quite sure where to start, or if they do have a video presence, it could be better. We've all seen those videos that, that we're just like, oh, wow, like the lighting's really bad or the sound, or, like what are some of the strategies that, a busy longevity clinic office or longevity business is going to be able to implement? Is there some strategies that you have formulated around that?
I got a few, and I'll make it real quick and easy. Here is how, in the box, you do it immediately. So the first thing you have to understand is just post the video. Ums and ahs are humanizing. That's okay. What stops people, so I think there's a stat that like 95% of podcasts don't get past episode 9, right? Start something, they're not consistent, or they're worried about what they sound like, or worried about what they look like. So if you look good and have great topics, you will be so successful at this. So here's how to look good. It's what we call the Millennial tilt. Hold your camera in front of your face and tilt 10 degrees. Okay, and on video right now, just a little bit of a tilt. And then the other thing is find natural lighting. So go to your kitchen window and have your phone between your kitchen window and your face. You're naturally lit. Nothing's going to make you look better than natural lighting. People are like, I'm a doctor. I can't shoot in my kitchen. Yes, you can. Absolutely. Humanizing, right? Go tilt 10 degrees and light yourself with natural lighting. Don't worry about a microphone. Don't worry about anything else. People are trying to, I want to build a studio. I want to be consistent first. Be consistent, because I think it's important to understand, what the market wants from you. Because you might go in with this plan of, I'm a functional health doctor and I'm going to talk about blood tests. Well, maybe your community where you live wants to talk about peptides. You don't know yet, right? So create generalized content about a few different things and see what resonates with people in your area. So again, tilt 10 degrees, get natural lighting. You're going to look as good as you can look, and don't worry about anything else. Nothing else matters. Second thing is what to talk about. And I tell people this is the easiest thing ever. So I'm going to go old school. I'm a Gen Xer. I would open up a Word document and I would click dictate and I would talk for 30 minutes uninterrupted about what you know. And the best way to think about this, Brent, is I always ask people, what's something outside of what you do as a business that you're passionate about? So I love to cook. So if I was going to talk, could I talk uninterrupted for 30 minutes about cooking techniques? Sure. And if I did that, this would probably come out. Brent, every time I cook salmon, I only use a cast iron skillet, and it's because the iron gives me that nice uniform heat, crispiest salmon skin you've ever had. So what I do is I put the heat on medium. I'll take out my salmon fillet, olive oil, salt, pepper, both sides, inside down first for 3 minutes, flip for 3 minutes, take it off, let it rest for 3 minutes. Best salmon you've ever had, little squeeze of lemon. You'll never cook salmon any other way. That was about 22 seconds. That's an full insight. If I talk for 30 minutes about functional health or peptides or physical therapy or whatever it is, in that 30 minutes, if you printed that up, you'd have about 8 pages of single space copy. And you go through the highlighter and you start looking for those actionable insights, those thoughts. And if you talk for 30 minutes, I guarantee you're going to have at least 30 thoughts, but every one of those thoughts is going to create a second one. Oh, I forgot about this. Oh, I forgot about this. Actually, you know what? The one time I don't cook salmon this way, I cook it this way. Now you've got 60 thoughts. Okay. If you take those 60 prompts and you get in front of your camera, your cell phone, your iPhone on a Saturday morning, in 4 hours, you could do 60 videos, and that's 6 months worth of content. So in a half day, you have 6 months worth of video content highlighting you as an expert. So millennial tilt, give yourself the 10 degrees, natural lighting from your kitchen window or wherever you want, or go outside as long as your eyes aren't squinting. And then do that. I'm telling you, talk about what you know for 30 minutes, record it however you want to do it, transcribe it, but find those actionable insights and talk about those. That's what people want. They want bite-sized nuggets of things that they can actually stop the video and go and apply right away.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, that's such a cool way to think about it, is like going through, recording the snippets, and then, like you said, if you have 6 months worth of content in one fell swoop, that's a really easy barrier of entry. And I'm sure once you start doing it and get into it, that time is going to fly on the video and you're going to get more and more comfortable the more you do it. Totally makes sense.
And I think what's interesting, really important, Brent, I don't want to forget this point. The barrier to entry is so easy, but no one does it. And I'll give you an example. So LinkedIn has a new video feature. It's almost become like a TikTok. No one is taking advantage of it. So according to LinkedIn, 1 out of 100 people who regularly uses their service, they deem it as someone who logs in once a week, will post it all. So 1 out of 100 people are posting. How many people of that 1% are posting video? I would say it's maybe 1%, maybe. So it's like 1 out of 10,000 people are actually posting video on LinkedIn. That's like being the mayor of a small town. So if I was in Naples, Florida, or Des Moines, Iowa, and I had a clinic, what I would do is I would talk about all these things, and then on Instagram or TikTok, I would hashtag Des Moines, hashtag Naples. So someone who's already following Dr. Seeds or following Brian Johnson, who lives in your neighborhood, the algorithm is looking for the same thing to give them. So now what you're doing is you're giving them something local. So you are now doubling down on being the local expert. And if you're trying to drive people to your clinic, right, you're not necessarily, you're talking to the whole country, but you can definitely micro niche down to, your neighborhood, your zip code if you want, by, just hashtagging appropriately. So you can leverage all these other people that people are following. The algorithm's going to curate the same thing because it's the same topics, but now you're the local guy, you're the local expert, and that's going to drive people into your clinic.
Man, that's a great tip about LinkedIn. Super actionable device. Thanks for telling me about that, because I didn't even know about that. And I have a story that's similar, that I work with a psychiatrist currently, and Psychology Today is this big database of, like how you find local psychiatrists, mental health experts in your community. And they rolled out a video feature and nobody was taking advantage of that. I'm like, okay, let's get all your physicians and physician assistants, let's all make them do little videos. And man, we just cleaned up. It was just like, we're the only ones with the videos. And so they would feature their profiles first in the algorithm. And it was gangbusters for a little bit until people started catching on. But again, rewarding that early adopter with some video. And there's so many opportunities. I think it's really easy to be like, oh, all those opportunities are gone. TikTok, Instagram, whatever. But like you said, LinkedIn just rolled that out. That's incredible. So there's always going to be platforms and associations that you're on where you can like put these videos and be kind of first to market there.
Well, and even if you're not first to market, just be consistent with content, because the people, let's say you're on TikTok or Instagram regularly, you're seeing the regular 30, 40, 50 creators you see regularly, and you think that's the whole world is doing it. It's not. It's 30, 40, 50 people. And I'll bet you people aren't doing it locally in your town, especially if you're in a small or mid-sized town. No one is doing this. You can clean up locally.
Totally.
And if you're in a big city, if you're in Dallas, Fort Worth, or if you're in Phoenix, pick a suburb, right? And even like I'm in Scottsdale, I would do hashtag North Scottsdale, hashtag South Scottsdale. You can get super granular.
Yeah. That's so true. Even in the biggest of cities, you still have neighborhoods and like large geographic chunks that are not being tapped necessarily to their full potential. So now the doctor, practitioner, clinician has this video that they've made, say 60 clips. We just talked about LinkedIn. Where else? Social media is a big, wide, murky place. Where do you think the best kind of bang for your buck goes for some of these videos that they might be creating?
So I think it depends. I always tell people get comfortable with one social media application as a poster first, even if you use others. But if your favorite thing to watch content on is TikTok, then do it on TikTok. If it's Instagram, do Instagram. If it's LinkedIn is wide open. As much as you think there's content on Instagram and TikTok, LinkedIn is wide open. So few companies have taken advantage of what's happening even before this new video tab feature on the mobile application for LinkedIn. So I think, it depends on who you're going after. If TikTok is your favorite platform, do TikTok because you're most comfortable and familiar with it. Go to YouTube and say, give me a 30-minute tutorial on how to make videos on TikTok 2025. So you're getting the latest algorithm hacks and ideas. And just see what experts are doing or follow a couple people. Just search, how do I make TikTok videos on TikTok? And suddenly your feed will be full of people giving you tips and tricks on best practices. And just take a couple best practices to start. One thing that's really key is a good hook. Are you suffering from this? Are you a triathlete and you're stuck here? Right? Something that's going to hook people, especially if you're adding hashtags to that. But a quick YouTube tutorial video would be fantastic. If I was a clinic, I would be going after high net worth individuals in my area. I think LinkedIn is a great opportunity. I think if I was a doctor, I would be all over LinkedIn as much as possible, as great as TikTok is. And I think too, I'm saying TikTok, some people are like, are people actually on TikTok? TikTok is massive. But the problem that people do on TikTok, if kids are doing dance trends on TikTok, don't do that as a business. Be the expert, be the thought leader. Go through that word dump we did before and find your crispy salmon skin recipe and talk about that. Just talk about that. But you have 30, 50, 70, 80, 100 things you could talk about off the top of your head. I had a patient who came in suffering from this. I went in today, I have an issue with my elbow. I have some sort of tricep tendonitis. So if I was a physical therapist, I'd be like, hey, I had a client come in today, had some issues bench pressing, was dealing with the tricep tendonitis. So what I did, first thing I said was, you want to scrape and you want to do this, 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 this. Okay, amazing. And then here's 2 quick exercises that I gave him to work that out. Hashtag tricep tendonitis, hashtag Des Moines, Iowa, right? It really is that simple. Just talk about, without obviously revealing names or personal information, but that's a very generic one. Or a couple of weeks, I had a client come in with a knee issue, or I had a client come in with very high cholesterol, but you know what? Their LDL was actually blah, 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 right? So I suggested something else. Or I had someone come in with, inflammation. So I said, hey, this is the peptide you want, right? And let's see if it works for you. We're going to try this. So we tried it for 4 weeks. And you know what? For this client, it didn't work. But for another client, they had these huge gains. You have all these stories and you don't think you're interesting. The reality is people are looking for this information. And especially in longevity and anti-aging, this is the beginning, right? As many Ben Greenfields and all these amazing people that you see out there, it's the beginning, right? What was Ben Greenfield doing before this? I don't even know. There's one guy, all he talks about is cooking on a steel pan, not cast iron, nothing else. All he talks about, I watch this guy obsessively. I now when I'm going to cook something on a steel pan, I check in his TikTok. If he has a video about how to make scrambled eggs in a steel pan so they don't stick. Because I'm obsessed with his, and all it is, he throws the pan. It's the steel pan guy on TikTok. You got to follow him. He throws the and he's like, guys, this is what Big Teflon doesn't want you to know. Easy hook, right?
Dude, I love that. Big Teflon. That's genius.
Right. So
that's so good.
It's greenfield, no pun intended. It is greenfield right now to plant your flag on anything. Just get out there and leverage what you're doing with Brent, work with Brent, get your SEO and your marketing tight. And then, just double down with your videos because it's so humanizing. And the other thing too, when you are working with Brent, which you should, people are still going to look, what videos do you have on your website? They'll check your social media. Oh, who's this guy Brent with all these videos? I like him. That's, oh, you know what? It's 3 weeks to see him, 3 months to see him. Doesn't matter. That's the person I want to see. I worked with this dentist years ago. People would fly in around the country to see this one particular dentist who had 500,000 followers on Instagram.
Wow.
He said, what? Yeah, we have a client flying into Phoenix from Cleveland today. What? They found me on Instagram, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a powerful story just right there. And just mirroring what you said about LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn is one of the best places to find prospects, especially for clinicians, longevity medicine, because it's professionals on there, and professionals are the ones that are really looking for these boosts for the entrepreneur or for the busy dad or whatever, or busy mom, whatever it might be. But a lot of these people are on LinkedIn more so, I think, than TikTok or Instagram or even Facebook. And they usually have jobs, are employed, have money. So yeah, LinkedIn, I think, is a great starting point. And then before you start branching out to the other social media channels. So I like you saying that, because that's exactly what I think too. I'm like, these people are mostly employed on this. So it's good, it's good,
Well,
good to
not only
be
that,
preaching to them.
the average spend is going to be so much higher, right? Like if you look at the average demographic on LinkedIn, it's going to be, I don't know what the numbers are, but 2 or 3 or 4x monetary wise what someone on TikTok is. It's just a different game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where, and especially if you're doing group coaching, like if I had a clinic, how do I get 10 people in, right? How do I target maybe executives? Hey, Brent, you've got a company. Hey, everyone in Dallas, what I do is, I'm running a special in the next 3 months, bring all your executives in. It's the presidential program, right? That you talked about earlier. We'll do this for all your executives, right? We'll cover everyone. Let's get everyone on your team healthy and motivated and focused. Invest in your people, blah, 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 blah. That would kill. And now instead of one person coming into your clinic, you're bringing in groups of 10.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a brilliant point too, the group coaching aspect of it. Yeah. I mean, there's so many ways to get customers and clients, and that's such a great way. So leading into this, so we've got the social media. What do you think about patient testimonials and the power of video and patient testimonials?
So huge. And I think the best way to do that is to actually interview someone. So if you can get them back into your clinic and say, hey, I'll give you a free treatment on that machine over there. If you come in and give me a testimonial, put them in an iPhone on a tripod and ask them questions. And the key is, don't let them you can let them talk about their experience, but you also want to cue them up and kind of lay out breadcrumbs. That'll give a great interview of things you want them to hit. So almost have like a conversation and talk to them for 20 minutes and then have a really good editor. You can call us at Splice Video, cut that down. And then you're going to get clips. And that's really what the powerful stuff is. You can always, someone to sit through an actual 11-minute testimonial, very unlikely unless it's something very compelling, right? Unless it's like this really magnetic story. But could I interview Brent about his experience of working with me and get 5 or 6 clips for social media? That would be a lot more powerful. Unless you have one really good one for like a landing page or one really impactful, I was bedridden, I couldn't do anything. But again, it's difficult to get someone who's, even if it's a really compelling testimonial, they're not a natural storyteller. It's hard to get something that someone's going to sit and watch for 10 or 15 minutes. But if you clip the sizzle reels, hey, the crispiest salmon skin example, that becomes very powerful, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. One thing I was thinking that we do with longer video segments is get those transcribed and then have one of our writers transform it into a story. So like edit it so it's based on a true story, but also make it a little bit more interesting. Say it's like, oh, this person came into the clinic with this issue and just like create the whole story around it. So it can be like the patient testimonial, but in a written story form, as well as the short clips. Is just like turning it into a blog post with keyword rich, get people finding it. Yeah. It's just a game changer. So testimonials, super powerful. And this will kind of combine with my next question that I'd like to ask you. But, I was looking at the Splice Video website right before we were talking today, And, you've got all kinds of videos on there, obviously, and it looks awesome. You got those 4 videos across the top. And really, so once you have those testimonials, once you're capturing those from a customer, where do you think you should post those? And then that the AB side of this is like, what role do videos have on a longevity clinic's website?
So what I would focus on is actually you. Again, the testimonials can be great, but that to me is like parsley on the plate. The steak is the doctor, right? What we're really focused on is the doctor. So the doctor either making social media video content or the doctor on the landing page, and no one cares other than your mom about all your credentials and your this and your that. I shouldn't say that. For doctors, it's a little bit different. What they want to know is, can you help them, right? Can you help me? Hey, I'm not Dr. Nick. Peptides are big right now. People are just starting to understand peptides. What are peptides actually? They're this, they're that. Why would you use them? This reason, that reason. If you're curious about starting a peptide journey, we'd love to come and chat with you. You know what? A lot of people, hey, I'm not Dr. Nick. A lot of people are trying to get healthier now. You're starting to see opportunities about health span increase and living longer, and you want to get involved. I can help you with that. I'm not Dr. Nick. I've been doing this for X amount of years, and I help people right here in Des Moines or Detroit or Dallas or Denver with exactly that. And I'll guide you. I'll hold your hand through the process. Humanize you. That's what people are buying, is you as the doctor. You can be an amazing doctor, but if you're just a Google referral or, a Google paid ad, you're just another business. But once they see the human, especially with something medical, that's how they're going to be like, I'll wait. I work with Dr. Greg Jones here in Arcadia in Phoenix, the best naturopathic doctor in the world. It's like 3 months to get in with Dr. Jones. I'll wait patiently. No problem. You want to wait 3 months? You got it. Because I'm not dealing with anyone other than Dr. Jones.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, video on a website, again, is one of those things that there's so much opportunity. Again, like I see so many websites with clinicians, and the non-use of video is very surprising to me. Like it's just a lot of words. It's a lot of, fill out this form, intake form. It's all around the intake form. And it's just like, I feel like a lot of these clinics websites give the impression of like someone just had a huge conversation with them. It's like, now go to website and fill out the form, instead of it being a welcoming space of like, hey, I'm Dr. not Brent, not a Dr. Brent or whatever. I'm going to take that from you. But, it's just like having that experience of just like, hey, have a seat. Let's have a conversation. Like, what are you after? We help people in this local geographic area with these type of ailments. Curious about peptides? We'd love to talk to you, and get to your goals. When you're saying that too, it reminded me of like, I remember Steve Jobs with Apple, love or hate Apple, but the marketing, you can't argue with it. Marketing Apple is so great because it's the storytelling versus, say a Windows machine is like, oh, it's a 395X, like these numbers and benchmarks that some people might be interested in, but it's really about the story and what it will do for the users of that product, or what will happen to the patients when they come to see you. And it's like, are you looking to, lose weight or fix that nagging injury or whatever? And it's that story that's what really can translate to the image of seeing themselves, and this new body of theirs, so to speak.
And that's true of any business, Brent, but it's next that when it comes to medical, because I know what a steel pan is. I've been using a steel pan my whole life. I don't know what a peptide is, right? So it's 10x that when it comes to medical. It's so important. So, educate, be human, make people smile, make them understand what it's like to deal with you. And if you need help for your videos, just call me. We can record something remotely. I can make you look like a star.
For sure. So my last question, as we kind of wrap this up, we covered some awesome stuff. And really, is there a way to measure how successful your videos are? I mean, obviously there's like Google Analytics and some really technical nerdy tools, but is there a way that just kind of like, sticking your thumb in the hot water, so to speak, like just to kind of test like, hey, is this getting traction? Is this working? You mentioned that, back, a couple questions ago, we're talking about, how to get the points and you're just seeing what sticks. How do people know if it's sticking or not? Is there a really quick and easy way to figure that out? Or is it something that you do need a more industrial tool like Google Analytics or Google Search Console?
So I think there's a lot of touch and feel to video. You got to see, and I'll tell you why. I would love to give a data-driven answer, but the reality is you just need to test and see what people are liking, commenting on, etc. But this is the key point. Everyone who has bought from me, and I built a few businesses off of LinkedIn, everyone who's bought from me has not liked and not commented on my content. And then they come into my sphere. It is the lurkers that are buying from you. But to get traction and see what your market wants from you, I would look at good views. So, if I have one video that's getting 200 views because I'm talking about ABC, but then I talk about XYZ and I get 20,000 views, I'm going to double down on that. But put a bow on top. It's about consistency, Brent. If you show up every day, if you post 3, 4, 5 videos a week and you have all the ideas in your head, the reality is people don't want to shoot themselves on video. But if you can get over that hump, you can take over the world. Look at all these people on TikTok who have.
Yeah, that's an awesome advice to end on there, Nick. So thanks. I super appreciate you taking time out of your day to go over this with me and my audience. How can people get a hold of you if they are interested in pursuing some really awesome video editing, shooting ideas, et cetera, et cetera? What's the best ways for them to get a hold of you, Nick?
SpliceVideo.com, and I need a new website, but there's a contact form at the bottom if you want to reach out to us, or you can email directly, Nick, N-I-C-K, at SpliceVideo.com, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, cool. And we'll also put that in the show notes in this transcription too. So if you did miss that, it'll be a clickable link, as well as any other things that we talked about. So thanks again for joining us today, and we'll talk soon, Nick.